Hi, Tarek. Thank you for accepting sharing our highlights of 154 today. I want to give a bit of background on, who you are as a collector and how, why I chose you to do this. It's our first 154 online preview since we did not manage to do our 154 New York this edition because of the coronavirus. And I wanted to have the opinion on a few collectors who are used to come to 154 and who have this first online experience. So for the people who don't know you, you've been obviously a very important advisory board member of 154, but also you're the CEO of Affinity Bank in Ghana. You've been collecting quite specifically artists from the African continent. And we wanted you to first start by telling us, what you liked of this 154 online preview, and share with us your coup de cœur, basically.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. And it's a real shame that the fair didn't happen in New York, but hopefully it'll happen in London in October and we can all reunite and be there together, even if it is a one-way system with lots of sanitizing gel.
I hope so. I hope so.
Exactly. But I also want to commend you. Thank you so much for putting all the works online. So those of us who are missing out, which is everyone, can actually see what's on offer. I think it's a huge benefit. I think it's wonderful. And I really do hope that this is a format that you continue to take forward for a couple of reasons. As you rightly say, I am a collector. It's a very generous word that people use. It often seems as if I have a museum behind me or a foundation or something, but that's not true. I do collect quite a lot of artwork, but anyone can be a collector. Art is for everybody. I have rules in my head and I stick to it, and certain price brackets where if I fall in love with something, and there are tons of things that I like on a daily basis, if it sits within a budget, I won't hesitate to make that purchase. If it's within a certain range, there needs to be a bit of thinking that needs to go behind it before I make that purchase. And then if it's above a top line, then there really has to be a lot of thinking and approvals from friends before a purchase is made. So I've been through the wonderful New York artsy online gallery, online 154 viewing it with all the art galleries that are participating. I've selected some works that go through what I'm interested in, that go through as well to the different brackets that I was mentioning to you. And I'd love to take you through them and hopefully maybe even get your approval for a purchase.
Okay, great. Let's start.
Great. So I'm going to start with the dream scenario. And there's some artists that I've discovered online by following people like you in 154. So I don't know if you can see this piece, but I'm absolutely obsessed with Abubakar Mansouré. I like academic works. I'm often accused by my friends for having very depressive taste. A lot of the works that I like when it comes to art are quite politically charged. They're quite academic. They're quite difficult, quite dark, not very happy. This doesn't fit, obviously, those brackets, but there's something so intricate, so beautiful, so academic about it that it's absolutely captivating. It's just one of those pieces that I saw digitally online. I then realized that it was at the show, and it's on the show at the moment in New York for 154. And he has several pieces that are absolutely stunning. And I look forward to seeing more of his work and following his work, and maybe in the future as well to making a purchase. But I think this is probably my top pick from the entire fair at the moment. I'm going to put, next on is another piece from an artist that I've been following for quite a while, and it's Romuald Hazume from Benin. I first got to know his work because he had a wonderful installation at the British Museum. And with the same motif of using gallons to create faces, he put together an entire ship, which was obviously reflective of the slave trade. And I remember, I can't remember when that was. I don't know if you remember, Touria, but it was well over 10 years ago. And I remember falling in love with it. It was very impactful. It was very simple in its construct, but at the same time, very charged politically. And I've been obsessed with his work ever since. And I dream of the point, I don't actually know how they're priced, but I dream of the point at one point where I wanted to own a piece of his. And this isn't necessarily a piece that I love. I just want to own something from his work because it's a reminder of me falling in love with that piece that I saw at the British Museum. So that definitely goes into that bracket of TBC for the future.
Yeah, so this artist, I just have a really dear friendship with him because it's one of the first sculpture installation we had at our first edition in London in 2013. He had done a globe with cans like this, plastic cans, you know, which was quite stunning. And we had our first picture in the FT with that particular installation. But it's one of the strongest artists we have at the fair and since the beginning. So it's nice to see also. I would want one of those pieces as well.
Absolutely. So, well, we must save up, you and I. Maybe we can get a discount if we buy more than one. Exactly. So, and it's funny how it's all quite emotional. You know how people say that a photograph, it says 1,000 words. Well, I feel like a piece of art says 1,000 photographs. And one little thing like this, looking at this, even though I've never seen it before, it really anchors me in terms of when I approach this artist, when I approach such a difficult subject within the British Museum, which in itself is quite political as well too, because obviously you have the Elgin marbles and you have a ton of history of colonialism as well too. And this one photo that I'm looking at now in 2020 transports me automatically to that time where I don't remember how old I was, but much younger than I am right now. And all these like emotions come flooding through, similar to how this artist has such a dear meaning for you in 2013 with the installation piece that you guys did as well. And that's often what I find with art. For me, it kind of fits into two brackets. Is it beautiful and do I want to look at it all the time? Or if it's not beautiful, which is most of my art that I buy, what does it mean to me and what does it remind me of? And this is both beautiful, obviously, and also very emotional. Which is a really good segue because it takes me to the next artist who I only discovered recently, thanks to your platform as well too, who fits firmly in the beautiful bracket. And that's this wonderful, I'm gonna remind myself, I know the art gallery is from Kampala, but she's Tanzanian. And the pieces are all gone, so for those who actually want to buy any. And they're absolutely stunning. They're all in black and white. They're so beautiful. They're so evocative as well too. And there's something mesmerizing about it. I could see myself sitting in front of it for just absolutely hours. And in fact, it reminds me a bit of the piece that Hassan Hajjaj did with the rock stars at 154 in London, with all the different videos and all the different images. There was something so beautiful because I remember he constructed, or you guys constructed a viewing area right in the center of that. And I remember in the earlier days with the VIP preview, when the room was incredibly busy, I managed to sneak away during the week when the fair was a little bit quieter, getting some time to sit down and stare at it. And I'm looking at this and assuming that I could do the same thing, where I could sit in front of these pieces for hours and just analyze all the details. But they were absolutely stunning, absolutely stunning. And I don't know the meaning behind it. I know nothing. I have no former relationship with it, but it's just so beautiful to look at.
Like the first time we had her at 154 as well, so we're very excited to be able to show her in New York and now on the platform. So first time participating gallery as well. So it's a good first, because I think that particular artist had a lot of requests and inquiry about her work.
And you know, after looking at her works as well too, and there seems to be, you know, obviously the contemporary African art scene is quite large, and it's contemporary art, forget the word African in it as well too, it's just a subsector, but there seems to be various trends that are happening within the art space as well too, and there's a lot of portraiture, and I would say maybe Lynette Yedem-Boakye probably started that I don't want to use it as the word trend, but that subsection of contemporary African art. And of course, you have Amako, and I'm going to put her in that bracket as well too, where they're just also incredibly beautiful. In fact, actually, I think she deserves a follow, so I'm going to be following her from now and seeing what work she pops out as well too. So I'm now moving into like, let me think seriously about a category. And there's an artist that's South African that I've been following, and this is more, these are pretty politically charged. I spoke too soon. That's above my bracket, but still, I'm sure his pieces are
a bit longer.
Exactly. Maybe if they made that in Ghanaian cedis, I'll be able to afford it. Oh, what happened here? Oh, there we go. I zoomed in. I like his work because it's as I mentioned to you, a photograph says 1,000 words and a piece of art says 1,000 photographs. This is incredibly politically charged. It reminds me of a ton of all the times that I went to South Africa, of seeing all the different banners that are like pasted on the walls, asking people to call for like homemade abortion, asking for homemade abortions and stuff like that. And it's all a reminder of what our society is at that point in time. Skip hopefully 10 or 20 years, those things wouldn't exist. But this is a stark reminder, basically, of what things were like at a certain point in time, and almost like a snapshot and a summary of a certain political and economic point in time. And his works are very much a reminder of that. The other person who's on that same vein is this Mozambican artist. He is Mozambican, right? Yeah, he is Mozambican. I first came across his work. He does furniture using discarded bullets and grenades and guns, right? And one of the earlier pieces that I saw was a chair made out of entirely of arms and ammunition. And I saw it from a distance. I thought that was such an imposing chair, and it was quite beautiful. And then when you get closer to it, you realize all of a sudden what was in front of you. And then of course it's highly politically charged as well too. This is one of his smaller pieces, and therefore more affordable. But he's one of the artists that I've been following as well too, for a while now, and I think is not only incredibly beautiful, but also very politically charged, which is the type of art that I like buying. I'm going to go on to the last artist that I was captivated by. She's new. I never heard of her until the 154 show, similar to this artist here. Her name is Nabila Mohammed. I think Newman Gallery is, I hadn't really heard of them again until the 154 New York, but she's got a number of pieces that are incredibly affordable, and they're all watercolor based. The first piece that I saw that I found interesting was actually this one, The Most Exotic Flower. I'm going to zoom in there, which I thought was incredibly beautiful and very well framed as well too. I'm a sucker for things that are well framed. And then I couldn't quite understand basically what she meant by it and what it kind of meant. And I don't know this artist, and so obviously I'm translating it to what it means to me. But then I came across this other piece that she had up there, and obviously by using the term half-breed, she's made a very strong political statement. So on the surface, it's a locket, it's beautiful. You've got your parents, your mom and your dad. She's obviously probably a mixed race, I'm assuming, again, comments that I'm imposing on there. And then after seeing this piece and revisiting the original piece that first caught my attention, I realized, and I have personal experience with this, and a personal hatred for the word exotic. I was born and raised in Ghana, but spent, since I was 12 years old, a lot of time living in the UK. With this weird accent that I have, being Lebanese and Ghanaian origin, I often get asked where I'm from. The minute I tell them from Ghana, let's say a stranger on the street, the first thing that a British person who has a very strong British accent will say is, "Wow, that's very exotic." It's similar to the use of the word exotic fruit as well too. Of course, for us here in Ghana, an exotic fruit is not a banana or a pineapple, it's an apple, right? And so it's all relative. And so I fell in love with this piece basically after understanding basically where I think she's coming from, and it's quite affordable. Her pieces are quite affordable, and I think what's great is that there's a number of pieces within the fair itself for young collectors like myself, and for new collectors like myself who happen to buy a lot of art, but who happen to have a price point that's quite strict, with strict rules as well to follow. So these are my top picks basically from the fair, and I'm glad you agreed on some of them with me.
Yes, I'm excited because you have like some that obviously artists that you were able to see some new work from that you knew, but you were able also to discover a few new artists with this online platform. One of the last questions I wanted to cover with you is really what did you like about this, experience rather than physically going at the fair, and because you had a chance to discover cover 154, the real editions, but the physical editions, I'll say, compared to this model, which is actually a model that, you know, we obviously are all going for, at least are all trying to create a new platform, a new online presence for fairs and for galleries, for artists. What did you like about it?
Absolutely. I mean, I know obviously you're a huge supporter of the arts, as am I, doing as much as I can to like not just purchase, but also when I can support artists beyond just purchasing as well too. I feel like art and the market is all about access, and there are different types of access. Like the very traditional and kind of formal point of access is going to a gallery, plain and simple. There are always barriers to doing that, and there's something very intimidating about going into an art gallery. Number one, the white walls, the very cold atmosphere. You know, even if the art might be very beautiful on the walls, the best way to exhibit them is rightly so in the right lighting and the white wall. But there is an automatic barrier, especially for collectors that are young collectors like myself as well too. The benefit, the next layer beyond that is obviously going to an art fair similar to 154, where there's less of a stigma kind of walking in, not buying something and feeling pressured, or walking out or being embarrassed to ask for a price list because there isn't that much transparency. Art fairs are a great way of actually bringing everything, as you know, together, but also nurturing and developing an audience and also a buyer's market. What I loved about this online fair with New York is that it went even one step further. In the comfort of my own home, on my own, without any embarrassment or asking silly questions or not knowing how to pronounce people's names, etc., and with the prices fully visible as well too, I can make my own decision in terms of what I want to do with my money, what I want to do with my walls at home, etc. And it becomes, instead of a passive approach where I'm being drawn in, I'm the one who's being a bit more active and actually reaching out to gallerists basically and asking them for works. And I'm going to be very honest with you. I do two types of buying. The ones that are at the earlier end of my affordability tends to be things that I'm emotionally attached to, artists that I like, etc., who may be either selling directly through Instagram or through their artsy platform, etc. On the top end, i.e., if I were ever to buy Romuald Hazume, I've bought pieces from quite established artists as well too. I will proactively search which galleries are selling them, and I will reach out to the gallery on that basis as well too. So I feel like the spectrum of access that this has provided basically to people like me has been hugely positive. And I hope that in the future it does continue, as well as the physical and social element of having a physical fair as well too.
Well, thank you so much, Tarek, for being with us today and being able to share your thoughts. And I hope to be able to see you very soon and
yeah, likewise.
talk about our online preview live over a drink or something. But and by the way, you have a very cool backdrop. I'm a bit jealous. I have to figure it out and have Somerset House and our last sculpture. I'm like very nostalgic when I see that.
Absolutely.
But thank you so much, Tarek. Talk to you soon.
Pleasure. Take care. And